Hi, I'm Kine Lovise, for those of you who do not know me. Yes, I'm speaking English because I want to and because I know a lot of people outside of Norway and I want them to be able to see my content and I want to practice my English. And what I'm gonna talk about is also in English, so I thought it was kind of fitting, you know. I have no more time for anything else because I'm so excited about this. I really did promise myself not to spend any more money and that I had enough books, because yes, this is about books. Then a shop called Outland here in Norway came with this grand offer, or offered 3 for the price of 2 on a lot of classic books. When I went through them all and put all of the ones that I kind of wanted in the bag, I found out that it would only cost me about 500 Norwegian kroner for 18 books, which is kind of huge. I had to buy some, so on Friday night I bought 18 books, new books. Well, what you're here for, we're gonna open this baby up and I thought I would just show you my new books because books is kind of all I am about these days. Well, books and makeup and work and working out. Are you blurry? Can you not be? I'm gonna open this baby. Okay, I can't. As you may as well see, I have a little problem containing my excitement about new books, and I have never ever had the fortune of having 18 of them arrive at the same time. So I'm kind of excited. All the books. Okay, so I'll just pick them up and show you them one by one. I have not read any of them, so I cannot review them in any kind of way. I've heard of them and I wanted them, and that's kind of all I know. They are classics, and I'm sorry if I'm just staring at the viewfinder, and I like to see that I am in the right place. First off, I have bought the Wuthering Heights of Emily Bronte. Like the house itself, Wuthering Heights is set on the bleak Pennine Moors, a fitting backdrop to this story of love, torment and revenge in a landscape familiar to Emily Bronte. Heathcliff is a foundling adopted and raised as one of the Earnshaw children. With this act of charity, the seeds of ardent love and jealousy are planted. Catherine Earnshaw becomes devoted to Heathcliff, while her brother Hindley always views him as a rival for Wuthering Heights. Their passions grow to involve their friends, the Lintons, spilling over to affect the next generation until Catherine and Heathcliff are reunited for eternity. So yeah, first book. Next out is The Subject of Women of John Stuart Mill. The legal subordination of one sex to the other is wrong in itself, and now one of the chief hindrances to human improvement. In this powerful and revolutionary argument for the equality of the sexes, John Stuart Mill accuses society of wasting the potential of an entire sex. From his vantage point in the 19th century England, he observes that historically women have been treated a little better than slaves. Mill discusses marriage, education, and law as the chief obstacles to the progress of humanity. Eloquently written and passionately argued, the subjection of women was a clarion call to progressives everywhere, as Mill set out a path toward a more equal society. So that's the subjection, not the subject. The Subjection of Women. Next we have The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I'm not that good with names. I've heard a lot of things about this. It's one of the like must-reads kind of. I've heard. It says here, when a pilot crash lands in the Sahara deserts, he meets a stranger, a little prince, who has arrived on Earth from an entirely different planet. By listening to the prince's stories and his questions about the world, it becomes clear to the pilot that truths about life can reveal themselves in the most unlikely of places. Translated into 180 languages, selling over 80 million copies, this beautiful and wise tale of childhood innocence will delight readers of all ages. This edition also includes the author's charming original illustrations. Oh, it's very light or easy read. Another one is Black Beauty by Anna Sewell. Black Beauty is another book I think a lot of people have heard of. Black Beauty is a horse with a glossy coat and a white star on his forehead. Life in the field with his mother is idyllic, but when Beauty is sold to a new owner, he embarks on a dramatic journey that will take him from the stables of the rich to the impoverished streets of Victorian London. One of the best-selling books of all time, Anna Sewell's moving story of a beautiful black horse will delight animal lovers of all ages. This edition also contains illustration by the renowned artist Cecil Aldin. So, another one I just felt like I had to have on my bookshelves. I am trying to collect books. I haven't got very many, not when you look at other book people, but I'm trying and I love books, so yeah. Beyond Good and Evil by Friedrich Nietzsche. Wow, that was, yeah, okay. Everyone's heard of Nietzsche. He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby becomes a monster. And if thou gaze long into an abyss, the abyss will also gaze into thee. Expanding on his ideas from Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche's radical polemic Beyond Good and Evil undermines the assumption of traditional morality and encourages us to think more critically about the world in which we live. In this famous text, Nietzsche considers past philosophers and religious leaders from Socrates to Descartes to Schopenhauer's with a critical and pessimistic eye. Questioning the blind following of religious faith, he examines the deeper question of who is truly good and evil. Beyond Good and Evil presents a unique perspective of the human mind offered through the words of one of history's most controversial philosophers. I'm very interested to see what his ideas really was, not just the opinion of others. Then I have The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. Everyone's heard of The Phantom of the Opera. It's also a musical, which I love. In Paris, terror stalks the Opera Garnier. Stories of a terrifying ghost haunting the theater create panic amongst the musicians and audience. But the ghost is no supernatural phenomenon, but a living, deformed man, Eric, who is hopelessly in love with a promising singer, the beautiful Christine Dahl. When her childhood friend Raoul begins courting her, Eric erupts in jealousy and soon the ghost becomes violent and reckless. Combining the atmospheric character of gothic horror with a tale of ill-fated romance, The Phantom of the Opera has been loved by readers worldwide since its first publication in 1925. It's always fun to read the book which movies and musicals are based on, so you know what they were supposed to be most of the times. Then we have Grimm's Fairy Tales by Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm. Originally entitled Children's and Household Tales, Grimm's Fairy Tales were first published by the brothers Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm in the early 19th century. This selection contains 45 stories and includes some of the best known, such as Briar Rose, or perhaps better known as Sleeping Beauty, and Little Red Cap or Little Red Riding Hood, as well as some of the lesser known tales, like the mouse, the bird, and the sausage, the iron stove, and the hare and the hedgehog. Handsome princes and princesses, wicked witches and stepmothers, benevolent kings, and fortune seekers abound among the stories that were collected from all over Germany in the folklore tradition. But no matter what the moral of the story, good always triumphs over evil. Also, kind of a must-have for me. Then we have another pretty well-known book. It's Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I already have the Pride and Prejudice. It says here the Dashwood sisters, 19-year-old Eleanor and Marianne, aged 17, are left poor and homeless by their father's death. Although kind relatives provide a roof over their heads, one way out of this misfortune is for both girls to marry well. However, impetuous Marianne and cautious Eleanor find themselves having to choose between passionate romance and observing the rules of polite society. Through risky liaisons, misunderstandings, and illness, two very different individuals discover in their own ways that a mixture of sense and sensibility is the solution. Next up is The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. It says that the elderly husband of Hester Prynne returns unexpectedly to their New England village to find his wife nursing an illegitimate baby and wearing a scarlet letter for adulteress embroidered on her dress. While her husband embarks on a vengeful hunt for the child's father, Hester refuses to name him because he holds a respected position in the Puritan community. In desperation, the lovers make a secret plan to flee to Europe with their young daughter. Hawthorne's story caused a stir when it appeared in 1850 and remained a milestone in American fiction. One of the popular movies, the one where she sings "I got a pocket full of sunshine" when she opens the card. The movie Easy A. It's based kind of this book. That's kind of why I bought it. Now I'm gonna have a pocket full of sunshine on my brain for the rest of the day. Anyway, next up is Dream Psychology by Sigmund Freud. Also a book I have kind of wanted for a long time because, as I said with the Nietzsche book, I want to read the ideas from the author, not just hear how everyone feels about it. The dream is the disguised fulfillment of a suppressed and repressed wish. In this fascinating work by one of the pioneers of psychology and psychoanalysis, Freud unlocks the secrets of the human mind. Featuring an extraordinary range of case studies, dream psychology decodes the symbolism of dreams and demonstrates how the unconscious mind communicates its desires. The methods of psychoanalysis outlined here were revolutionary in their time and continue to play a major role in modern psychology. Maybe I can understand my dreams as well, because I'm dreaming every night. There's always something different. It would be great if they could be used for something other than making me tired. Next up is the book Inferno by Dante. Another must-have, must-read. So many other books takes quotes or people in the books have read Inferno by Dante, so I feel like I have to read it so I can get it. It says here, midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself within the forest dark, for the straightforward pathway had been lost. Canto 1. Dante's Divine Comedy, and in particular Inferno, is a masterpiece of world literature. The fearsome journey recounted in Inferno is told by a pilgrim, the poet himself, who meanders through the increasingly macabre landscape of hell. He meets and often recognizes the various inhabitants of the hellish circles and witnesses their strangely befitting punishments. It is a spiritual allegory without comparison, at once a voyage of self-discovery and a revelation of the divine. Very excited for this. Also very big letters, so it's an easy read, I think. Well, that depends on the language, but if it's not too old language, it should be an easy read, and I'm very excited. Next up, there are so many books. I'm so excited. Next up is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Other Strange Tales. Also something most of you have probably have heard of, Robert Louis Stevenson. It says, losing hold of my original and better self and becoming slowly incorporated with my second and worst. Victorian London is the setting of the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of 1886. Stevenson's famous story of conflict between dual personalities, one good and one ruthlessly evil. Other eerie tales in this volume are The Body Snatcher, inspired by the case of Burke and Hare, Markheim, where murder meets a sinister, smiling stranger, and The Bottle Imp, in which an imp has the dubious power to grant the owner's every wish. Also The Bear of Hermiston, an unfinished romance. Another one you've all heard of, it's The Adventures of Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. Follow Alice as she ventures down a rabbit hole and into Wonderland, a world filled with unforgettable characters such as the March Hare, the Mad Hatter, the Cheshire Cat, can never say that right, and the Queen of Hearts. Then enter a topsy-turvy universe on the other side of the Looking Glass, where Alice encounters all the new friends, including Humpty Dumpty and Tweedledum and Tweedledee. Illustrated. Classic stories will enchant readers of all ages. Also an easy read with kind of a big font and pictures. I'm not used to reading books with pictures, and now I bought a couple of them actually, so yeah. My camera, it lost its powers, so I've just charged it for a little bit, but we'll see. Hopefully it will hold, because there's only 3 books left. These are the last 3 of the ones I've been sent. 2 of them didn't have them when they originally sent all of these, so I just checked my mail, and I think the last 2 books was sent today. The last 2 books is The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx, just because I want to know what the idea really is. So that's one of the books I'm lacking here. And I have also bought the book Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Also a book I feel like I just had to have. I have actually never read the Christmas Carol book. I felt like that would be something I had to have, just so I can maybe read it in December. Planning ahead. So let's just go through the last 3 books I've bought here. I think I was just about to talk about Ecce Homo, also by Friedrich Nietzsche. This one says, what could have happened to me? How did I soar to such heights above the rabble sitting by the well? Ecce Homo is Nietzsche's compelling autobiography. It's written in 1888, just weeks before he succumbed to madness. Nietzsche's last great work, a fascinating and bizarre text, traces the development of his own philosophy and the thinkers who influenced him along the way. Both shocking and revealing, Ecce Homo is a window into the mind of one of Germany's most acclaimed philosophers. I watched a documentary, I think it was about Nietzsche, Freud and Marx? Was it one? No, maybe it was another. It's a series about 3 big thinkers. It's on Netflix. Another one I am very excited about reading. And then we have The Odyssey by Homer. Also kind of just a must read, and also a book that a lot of other authors, oh my god, I'm not used to speaking this much. Yeah, a lot of authors also, their characters in their books speak of this book. And there's a series on Netflix which has a lot of references to this book. I'll put the name of the series on the screen because I really love that series. It says here that the Homer's Odyssey is the ancient Greek tale of Odysseus and his eventful voyage home after Trojan War. The hero and his crew escape a man-eating cyclops, and having angered the sea god Poseidon, are then beset by storms and blown to an island where a witch transforms the sailors into pigs. Okay. With his fleet destroyed, Odysseus is held captive for 7 years by the nymph Calypso, who offers him immortality if he will stay with her. But the desire to return to his loving wife Penelope is too strong, and Odysseus determines to reach his home at Ithaca. His many adventures are the subject of this famous prose translated by T.E. Lawrence, which was the first to be aimed at a general leadership. Did not know that. A witch that transformed the sailors into pigs. Yeah, this can be interesting. And the last one I got now is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Also a very well-known author. I feel like I have to have one of his books on my shelf. And I do like what it's about. At 18, the handsome Dorian Gray has his portrait painted, which prompts an admirer, Lord Henry Wotton, to declare that life is nothing without beauty and sensuous gratification. Suddenly scared of growing old and ugly, Dorian makes the fateful wish that the painted image should age rather than himself. Then, fearless of consequences, he launches on a life of excess and depravity. Wilde's cautionary tale, published in 1891, describes how every sin that Dorian commits is reflected in the portrait. The painting is banished to his attic, where the image finally becomes so loathsome that Dorian tries to destroy it. I am actually really excited. Yeah, and then the memory was full. I had no idea what I was about to say. You know, because I've probably left that in there. But yeah. As I said, I think I am actually really excited to read this. Those were the 16 books I have received this far. Currently reading Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. It's such a different book from what I expected. Had to have a break from reading The Mortal Instruments, which is what I'm really doing at the moment, but finished the third book and felt like that was a great book to just take a break and read something else afterwards. But I do like to read the full series when I first start, so that's my update as well, or my first date. If you are as interested in books as I am, you can follow my Goodreads account, because that's where I always post what I'm reading. I have my reading challenge. I also update every time I buy a new book or I find other books I want to read. I also have different kinds of shelves there by categories, which I have read, which I have not, and which I want to read. So please follow me on, or befriend me. I want friends, not followers, on Goodreads. And if you are interested in books, I do really recommend making a Goodreads account if you do not have one. Just goodreads.com. It's also an app. Now I have to put all of these books into my shelf, both on Goodreads first, and then up on my shelf, my classics shelf here. Hopefully this was kind of at least almost interesting for some of you. Let me know. I have no TV anymore, so what else is there to do? Then read books, work out, and work, and sleep. Lots of sleep. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up because my battery light is blinking again. Hopefully you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Follow my YouTube account if you are not already and you want to keep up with more bookish and makeup-ish videos, because I want to start making more again. I hope you have an still amazing day and that your summer also is amazing despite everything that's going on in the world. And yeah, flashing. Bye.